Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's Microsoft Excel VBA video, we are going to actually talk about the 2D arrays and the dynamic arrays in Excel VBA as we promised in the previous video. So let us start our discussion with the 2D arrays first, and then we will talk about the dynamic arrays. So we know that what a 2D array looks like in the memory, as we just saw from the previous video. We took an example to demonstrate it. So that's how a 2D array looks. And if you take a simple if you think a little, then you will get that this 2D array is actually like a matrix. If you know about the matrix, then it's good. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you that a matrix is something in a 2D format that is used to hold numbers or any other thing, and it is of the format P cross Q, which means P is the number of rows and Q is the number of columns. The total elements in a matrix are P cross Q, the product of P and Q. So if we look at this, then there are two rows and two columns in this 2D array as well. And the number of elements it holds is 2 into 2, which is 4. So a 2D array is simply referred to as a matrix. So let's see that how can we declare and use a 2D array in Visual Basic. Bring up your VBA editor. The shortcut you need to use for this purpose is Alt F11 from the keyboard. Now once your VBA editor is up and running, go to the Insert tab to insert a new module, and let's rename it as 2D array so that you are able to recognize it afterwards. Now this is how you name a 2D array. You cannot use the number 2 because that's invalid name for a module. So 2D array is what I'm going to name this a procedure as well. And then I'm going to write some piece of code. So how can you declare a 2D array? That's the first question. The answer is a very simple one. All you got to do is use dim, then write the name of the array. This is going to be B. Then within the parenthesis, what you need to write is the number of rows, comma the number of columns. That is how many rows and columns you are expecting that array to have. I'm expecting it to have 3 rows and 3 columns. So the size that I'm going to give over here is 2, 2. Why? Because its indexing starts from 0. So when I give 2 as a size, then it would be holding the index as 0, 1 and 2, and 0, 1 and 2 for the rows and the columns, and it would be holding 3 and 3. That is a total of 9 elements. So that is why the size I'm going to mention is 2, 2. And when I have mentioned the size, the next thing VB expects me to do is specify its data type. So let's use the keyword as and specify its data type to be integer. Then as soon as you press enter, then congratulations, you have successfully declared a 2-dimensional array with 3 cross 3 size. Now once you've declared an array, what we are going to do is actually hold some values in it. Okay, so what is going to be the possible indexes? So let's see the possible indexes for this one. 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, and like here also it's going to be 1, 2, and here it's going to be B, 2, 0, B, 2, 1, and B, 2, 2. So that is what is going to be the index of all these 3 or all of these 9 elements. Okay, 3 rows and 3 columns. So let's bring up our VBA editor again, and let's just declare 2 variables, dim within the end sub, dim I as integer and dim j as integer. The reason why we are declaring 2 variables is because these 2 are going to be the loop iterators. 2 variables because there are 2 dimensions. So that's a convention that how many dimensions you want is going to be the name, the number of the variables you need to declare whenever you are trying to go through a loop. So let's start. First of all, we are going to loop through I. So for I equals 0 to 2, and let's create a next. Then we're going to use a nested for loop, that is a for loop within a for loop. Okay, so let's just ident it. For j equals 0 to 2, and let's just close it through next, and whatever the piece of code we write within this would be actually executed again and again and again. Okay, so what we are trying to write is b, okay, I of j. So the value we are trying to add in it should be the value of j plus I into 10. So that's the value that I want to add, that whatever is the sum of j and I want to just multiply it by 10 and I want to store it in the corresponding values. So that's how you can just actually initialize the two-dimensional array. Once you've done that, you gotta show or you gotta print its result. So just copy it and paste it. Now it's going to be same except from here you need to store the values, or you need to show the values in the form of a message box. So it's going to be b of I j. Actually that's what I think it is. So let's see if it runs correctly or not. So yeah, we have got an error, and the reason why we are getting this error is we need to specify like this. Okay, and this b I comma j, that's how we declared the array, right? So let's just run it. The first value that is of b00 is 0, then is 10, 0, 1. You can see 0 plus 1 is 1 into 10, then it's going to be 20 over here, then it is going to be 10, 1, 0, then it is going to be 20 again, 1, 1, and it's going to be 30, 1, 2, then it's going to be 20 again, 2, 0, then it's going to be 30, 2, 1, and then it is going to be 40, 2. So that's how the two-dimensional array works, and that is all about the 2D array that you need to know. Also, if you want to make some changes to the code, you can do that. You can experiment it in your own way. So that was about the 2D array, and the next topic that we have is of a dynamic array. So as the name suggests, a dynamic array is an array that is dynamic in nature, means its value or its size is not fixed. Like right now we declared a 2D array, so its size was fixed, that is going to hold 3 rows and 3 columns, and also we declared a single dimensional array whose size was fixed as 3, that is it is going to hold 4 elements no matter what. So there may be situations when where you are declaring an array but you do not know what its size is going to be. So in that case you got to use a concept of a dynamic array actually, that is given to you through Visual Basic. So let us see that how it works in the VBA. Let's go to insert and insert a new module, and let's rename it as dynamic array, and go to the code pane of dynamic array and create a sub procedure as dynamic array. Open and close the parenthesis. Now this is how VB recognizes it as a sub procedure. Let's declare an array, say C. So that's how you declare an array, but when you are declaring an array you need not specify the size of the array, because the reason why you are declaring a dynamic array is you are not sure of its size, so you do not need to declare the size. Then you can write any number of piece of code that you want, and suppose after a few lines of coding you realize that now I know that what is going to be the size of this array. Then you can resize this array using a statement known as redim. Then after this redim you need to specify the name of the array, and within parenthesis its size, like this. So as soon as you do that, what will happen is the C will now hold 3 variables or 3 values, that is 0, 1 and 2 indexes, and that's how you can actually declare or actually redeclare an array. So redimension means redeclaring an array. That is actually used for the dynamic arrays itself. Now you can just assign some values to it. C0 is suppose 30, C1 is suppose 60, and C2 is suppose 90. Okay, then what we're going to do is actually use a for loop to print those values. I equals to 0 to 2, next, and within this we are going to just print the values through a message box C of I. Okay, now let's just declare I as an integer as well. Perfect. Now let's run it. 30, 60, 90. Okay, now after the assigning of the values, suppose you decide to just increase the dimensions of the variable C or the array C to 3. Now if we just try to run it, then what happens is we get 0 as the value, these 3 values as 0. Why? Because when we are using this statement redim, then the previous values of this array C are lost. Okay, so if you need to preserve these values, you need to use the keyword preserve. Then what happens is these things would be preserved, and let's just iterate it till 3 and assign 3 C of 3 to something as 120. So let's see what happens right now. 30, perfectly fine, 60, 90 and 120. So if you need to preserve the values while declaring an array or changing its size, you need to use this keyword preserve. So that's all for the video, in which you learned about the 2D arrays and the dynamic arrays in VB. That's for the 1D dynamic array, but if you want, you can also do it for 2D or multi-dimensional arrays as well. Thanks.